description of charana, how a person, after listening to the Dhamma of the Buddha, becomes a monk, and then after that he cultivates the practice of a monk, or the conduct of a monk, and then he purifies his mind from doubt. Having thus abandoned these 5 hindrances, imperfections of the mind that weaken wisdom, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, he enters upon and abides in the first jhana. With the stilling of applied and sustained thought, he enters upon and abides in the second jhana. With the fading away as well of delight, he enters upon and abides in the third jhana. With the abandoning of pleasure and pain, he enters upon and abides in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and purity of and utter purity of sati and equanimity. So this monk, after becoming a monk, he practices the conduct of a monk and then attains the 4 jhanas. Then, on seeing a form with the eye, he does not lust after it if it is pleasing. He does not dislike it if it is unpleasing. He abides with mindfulness of the body established with an immeasurable mind. And he understands as it actually is the deliverance by mind and deliverance by wisdom, wherein those evil, unwholesome states cease without remainder. Having thus abandoned favoring and opposing, whatever feeling he feels, whether pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant, he does not delight in that feeling, welcome it or remain holding to it. As he does not do so, delight in feeling ceases in him. With the cessation of his delight comes cessation of clinging. With the cessation of clinging, cessation of being. With the cessation of being, cessation of birth. With the cessation of birth, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair cease. Such is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. Similarly, on hearing a sound with the ears, smelling an odor, tasting a flavor, touching a tangible, cognizing a mind object, he does not lust after it if it is pleasing. He does not dislike it if it is unpleasing. With the cessation of his delight comes cessation of clinging. With the cessation of clinging, cessation of being. With the cessation of being, cessation of birth. With the cessation of birth, aging and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair cease. Such is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. Monks, remember this deliverance through the destruction of craving as taught in brief by me. But the monk Sati, son of a fisherman, is caught up in a vast net of craving, in the trammel of craving. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. It's the end of the sutta. So here the sutta, the Buddha, in trying to teach the deliverance through the destruction of craving, he brings in the 12 links of dependent origination, how all things arise through conditions and cease through conditions. But you notice in this last part, the Buddha says this person having renounced, then he practices charana, the conduct of a monk, then he abandons the 5 hindrances, attains the 4 jhanas. After he attains the 4 jhanas, then on seeing a form with the eye, he does not lust after it if it is pleasing. He does not dislike it if it is unpleasing. Because he does not delight in feeling, welcome it or remain holding it to it, then there is, with the cessation of delight comes cessation of clinging. With the cessation of clinging, cessation of being, birth, aging and death, etc. And he becomes liberated. So you see, for him to do that, he can only do that after the 4 jhanas. After he has attained the 4 jhanas, then his mind is so clear and strong that he can remain unmoving as far as feeling is concerned. He is not moved by feelings. So the Buddha always quotes the attainment of this 4 jhanas as a way to liberation.